What I want to talk about is how we can make OKR implementations successful. And the thing is, I call this product operations. It doesn't really matter what you call it. What matters is that it gets done. But because I always get the same 3 or 4 questions, I will take, let's say, 2.5 minutes to very briefly recap product ops. So, what is product operations? My personal aim, and there are many different aims of many different product ops people, but my personal aim is to foster product management excellence. And what I mean by that is that I empower product managers and product owners to do their best work by removing barriers. Removing barriers looks different at every single company because those barriers are different at every single company, right? You might be an organization that really struggles with OKRs. You might be an organization that has a really hard time accessing and translating data into insights, right? What you're bad at is different from company to company, but it's my mission in product operations to get you to a better place so that you can deliver more value to your customer faster. Is it just leadership? Is it just agile coaching? Is it just being an assistant? Is it just being a chief of staff? Yes and no. I think it's fair to say that traditionally a lot of these tasks were done by product leaders. The issue with that is that the time they're spending on doing product operations, on finding vendors, negotiating with them, on making sure a new process runs smoothly, on making sure people actually make full use of their education budget, all of this in-betweeny work, setting up Jira, restructuring Confluence for the 15th time, right? That takes time. And if your product leader is doing that, what are they not doing? Last but not least, another very popular question: at what point does it become relevant for companies? Huge, big, it depends. It depends how disciplined you are as an organization. It depends how you grew. It depends how many people in your org care about it. But typically speaking, I would say once you start having 8 to 10 product managers and you can no longer just solve issues by getting everybody into the same room, that's when it starts making sense to think about product ops on a more holistic level. Why am I here to talk about this, right? I don't market myself as an OKR expert. I love doing it. But why me from product ops? Why not somebody else? I have seen this problem countless times. I have seen this problem from many different angles, in many different industries, many different company sizes, many different hierarchy levels, right? I have a 360-degree view on OKRs that did not work out. Why OKRs? Because I genuinely believe, ooh, you can barely read that. Can you read this? Yeah? Okay, good. When done well, they can make a mediocre company great. Like, I genuinely believe that. They can take you from just another average discounter to the market leader. And last but not least, why now? Let's be honest, we can no longer rely on cheap money. We can no longer use the excuse that we'll become profitable later. Right now, it's growth at all costs. That just doesn't work anymore. So, this is my core question for today. How can we help our organizations achieve their most mission-critical goals? And I'm biased here, but my answer is by doing OKRs right. Now, there are many different dimensions to this right. And I'm going to specifically talk about 3 dimensions. Again, you can call this product operations. I really don't care. What's important is that it gets done. The 3 dimensions are OKR creation, reviewing OKRs, and actually achieving OKRs. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to tell you 3 things that most companies most often get wrong in each of these categories. So, creating OKRs. Now, I think there is kind of a common misconception that when it comes to OKRs, really the hardest part is actually creating them, but then you get some people into a 4-hour workshop, usually the CTO, the CPO, a few very highly paid people, you give them whatever snacks they need, they hash it out, they do some wonderful wordsmithing, and then everybody is proud of the OKRs they came up with, they pat themselves on the back, they leave again, we've done OKRs. Fantastic, gold star. This is actually the most critical aspect of OKRs, right? If you don't get this right, you're setting yourself up to fail. Now, I think the first issue I've encountered, especially for companies that are doing it the first time or are restarting their OKR efforts, is being too ambitious. And I don't mean being too ambitious in their OKRs. It's not about you're setting targets that nobody can hit, although we can talk about how realistic that is, but being too ambitious with your timeline, right? If you read a standard OKR book and it says every quarter you have new OKRs and your company just does not move that fast, you are setting yourself up to fail. You're setting your entire organization up to fail. Define a realistic cadence, right? And this is really on us to be more agnostic and more pragmatic than all of the frameworks we hear and see out there. If 4 months doesn't work for our organization, let's start with 6 months, and let's slowly get faster and better at it over time. Secondly, not having a facilitator. This is such a basic thing, but in these strategy workshops, in these OKR creation workshops, it's incredibly difficult to do a good job at facilitating the discussion and being part of the discussion, right? One of these 2 roles will always suffer. Easy fix, assign someone that isn't supposed to be contributing to keep you on track, to keep you focused, to highlight things that might be an issue later. And lastly, expecting perfection, right? Like my first product ops job, I was a team of 2. It was me and my manager. We were mutualizing how we were doing product across a multi-brand corporation spread across Europe, right? And every single brand had their idea of what an OKR meant, of how to do it, of their own cadence, et cetera, et cetera. So we started mutualizing things. And I vividly remember my manager always going, we'll do it the first time, and it will suck. People will hate it. They will think it's the worst thing in the world. We'll do it the second time, and it will be bad, right? People will grumble. They'll still do it, but it's not going to be very good. We'll do it the third time, and people will start getting it. People will get into the rhythm. It will start becoming useful, right? It is nearly impossible to do OKRs right in your first quarter. Reviewing OKRs. Now, I think this is probably the most contested topic, and therefore probably one of my favorites. Set and forget, right? We had this wonderful workshop. We had a facilitator. We did all the right wordsmithing. We identified really great key results, and now it's done. Fine, we can just walk away. We'll just go back to doing whatever we were going to do in the first place, and the OKRs are just lying in a dark corner of a Google Drive or Confluence page somewhere, and nobody takes a look, right? Public dashboards are so important to OKRs, and I really, as public as possible. Anyone, from the intern to your CFO, should have one-click access to a dashboard that tells you how you are doing at any given time. OKRs are there to help you make better decisions. You cannot make better decisions if you don't know the state of your OKRs. ignoring failure. I was once told to tone down how I talk about our failures in our company newsletter. And literally, all I did was point out where we were in relation to our goal and where we were in relation to 2 weeks ago. That was a huge issue, apparently. And it's not helping anyone, because you know what happened? When half the company got laid off, people didn't understand why, right? Be honest about where you are. And last but not least, assuming it'll just happen. And I think this is really something for the higher ups, right? Again, part of set and forget. We've done all the important pre-work. We maybe even have a dashboard, right? Now we're just going to assume that people are inherently motivated, inherently interested in changing, and will inherently adopt this new framework. It just doesn't work like that. You have to nurture, and it's really a nurturing, right, of this process. Hence, the many plant metaphors, right? You have to understand how much sunlight it needs, how much love and care it needs, how often you need to water your OKRs in order to make sure that this does become an embedded part of your culture. Last but not least, achieving OKRs. Because I think, again, with any framework that starts at the strategy level, embedding it into your everyday is one of the more difficult things to do. Not understanding your LODO, and actually I love that you addressed this already, right? LODO, lights on, doors open. What keeps your company running? You still need to get that work done, right? And it's a very interesting debate, and I love that this already came up. Do you have this as part of your OKRs, or do you just have this as your other work buckets? I typically recommend define your buckets. I'm not a big subscriber to having OKRs for absolutely all of your work, but it's important to understand, historically even, how much time does it take your development and product teams to keep the lights on? If 80% of their time is taken up by LODO, it's no wonder they're not making any progress on their OKRs, right? Either you need to reprioritize, or you need to understand why so much of their time goes into maintenance. 2, thinking about OKRs too late. I've seen it so many times that you're already talking about specific features, about specific solutions, and at some point, a product leader goes, sorry, which OKR does this contribute to exactly? Because they also have targets to hit, right? So what you do as a PM, you just kind of crowbar whichever key result is kind of the most relevant for the thing you actually want to do. Attribute early and often. You should think about OKRs at the problem discovery stage, because that's the point in which you have the most direction to choose, right? That's when you need to do the most steering. Am I going to go to the right or to the left? And as you progress in the product discovery and delivery process, the curves will be much smaller, right? You will do much smaller adjustments. But in order to truly understand which big direction to go to, you need to think about OKRs early and often. And last but not least, ignoring synergies, right? We talk about OKRs often from a product and tech perspective, but they are company OKRs. They are company initiatives, right? It is a useful, measurable representation of your organization's strategy. So making sure that everybody can contribute to the OKRs, and not just the product team, not just the tech team, is pivotal to really take things to the next level. I've talked quite a bit, and there is really one thing I want to leave you with today, right? And this ties into what I said at the very beginning. I'm not going to talk about product ops. All of the things I just told you, to me, fall under the umbrella of product operations. Product operations right now is very contested. If you spend any amount of time on LinkedIn, there are many very famous thought leaders telling you that it's a waste of time, it's overcomplicating things, product ops people are just there to introduce more and more processes until everybody dies, etc., etc., etc. Right? The debate about whether product ops is necessary or not is misguided because it's always there. The question is whether you're managing it or not. And in that similar vein, it doesn't matter who does this product operational work. What matters is that it gets done. So, to recap, define a realistic cadence for your company, assign a lead facilitator, and understand it's a process. You're not going to be perfect right off the bat. Make dashboards available to everyone, please. Be honest about your progress and create regular rituals. And lastly, I can't even see that, define your work buckets, think about OKRs in the problem definition phase, and share responsibility, right? And I've been spending a lot of time on LinkedIn lately, being increasingly annoyed at some of the things that are coming out. I'm not going to name names, but I just want to, don't let, and even with the stuff I'm telling you here, right? Don't let anyone else define what good looks like for you. You're in your organizations, you know what works, you know your culture, you know the politics that are going on. With any given framework, have a critical eye, pick and choose, take what works on board, and refine what doesn't work for you. And if all of this still sounds a little bit too scary and a little bit insurmountable, do remember that you can always hire me. Thank you.